The LA Lakers are in major trouble. After assembling one of the most polarizing big threes earlier this offseason, the Lakers are facing an uphill battle as the regular season moves towards its final weeks. The entire organization is in disarray and their situation just keeps getting tougher game after game. Their stars are struggling to fit, the supporting pieces have been underperforming, and the coaches are still searching for the right formula. Can the Lakers still have their season? Let's take a look. Heading into the All-Star break, the Lakers had a record of 27 wins and 31 losses. They've been in the middle of the pack and have been struggling to climb up the ladder ever since the season started. Despite this, they aren't showing any hints that they'll figure it out soon. They rank just 23rd in offensive rating and 16th on offensive rating. And what's worse is the Lakers aren't actually stagnant or stuck in the middle. Instead, they are slowly falling behind both in metrics and in the standings. Just before the All-Star weekend, they dipped to 4 games below 500 and sat at the 9th seed. With just a little more than a month to fix their issues before the postseason starts, and with the way they're performing right now, it would not be a surprise if they miss both the playoffs and the play-in. On paper, this squad looks like they can easily be a championship team. The expectations will be understandably high if you have LeBron James, Anthony Davis, and Russell Westbrook all sharing the floor. These three were all MVPs and MVP candidates at one point. There were some concerns before the season started, such as their spacing and their fit, knowing that LeBron and Westbrook are both ball-dominant players. As a lot of fans predicted that they would have issues on the court, but what surprised a lot of people is how they're struggling as early as the regular season. It would be understandable if this team would have a hard time in the playoffs, but a trio of this caliber should not be losing this many games, let alone struggling to be in a playoff spot in the first place. Throughout the season, the Lakers have shown flashes that they can win games and play at a high level. However, they can't seem to find a way to win games consistently. Whenever they're starting to string together a good winning streak, a horrible losing streak follows immediately afterward. This insane up and down has been their story this season so far, and it has left a lot of fans understandably frustrated. One of the reasons for their inability to build momentum is how their health has held them back multiple times this season. From AD and LeBron to the surprising pieces surrounding them, this team has been dealing with a lot of injuries and safety protocols. This keeps them from making a consistent game plan, and it hurts the chemistry they're trying to build. However, even when they're truly healthy, they're still having difficulties winning games, both from championship contenders and from teams who don't have any stars in their lineups. In fact, after a 105-107 loss against the starless Blazers, retired Lakers legend James Worthy said that this season was the lowest point he has seen as a Laker. Record-wise, this franchise has seen worse years than this, but compared to the amount of talent they had during those times, this season is definitely more disappointing. As a result, a 37-year-old LeBron has to carry the team on his back in order for them to have a chance at the playoffs. He's averaging an unbelievable 29.1 points, 6.5 assists, and 7.9 rebounds. On the bright side, this will help him break statistical records to make his individual career even more illustrious. But on the other hand, it's not a good sign for a team when the oldest player on the squad is the one doing it all just to keep the team afloat, especially when you have 2 other superstars way younger than him. On top of this, the supporting cast has been underperforming as well. It's not the lack of talent that's causing their struggles. Many times, it's simply a lack of effort. Just take a look at this possession where LeBron was literally put in an actual 1v5 situation when his teammates were too slow to get back on offense.
DJ's got the rebound up ahead for LBJ. LeBron is literally one against their entire team right now.
This is not the kind of help you want your superstar to have, and yet that play sums up a lot of their problems this season. With his age, LeBron is supposed to just be coasting through the regular season to preserve his body for the playoffs. The plan was for his co-stars and teammates to carry most of the load before the postseason, but the opposite ended up happening. Anthony Davis was projected to be the Lakers' main option this season. As the youngest among the team's stars and in the previous years, there were games where he showed his capability. And yet, this season, AD is having difficulties making an impact on the team. One of the reasons is how he's having a hard time keeping himself healthy. Injuries have been the kryptonite of Davis's career. Since entering the league in 2012, he has yet to play a full season without getting injured, and this year is no different. He's been in and out of the lineup this season due to different injuries, and right now, he's out once again because of his ankle. His inability to stay healthy has been a major roadblock both for the team and his personal career. Despite that, AD has been underwhelming even when he's healthy. His raw stats look impressive, but his actual performance on the court has been subjected to a lot of criticism. Fans have noticed that his passion for the game has declined after they won a championship in the NBA bubble. This is evident during the many times he chooses to settle for a jump shot instead of attacking the rim. Another former Lakers legend, Shaquille O'Neal, also took notice of this and told the big man, "What are you doing?" Shaq also added that AD needs to step up if he wants his team to win more games. Davis is one of the most talented big men in the game today. If he can stay healthy and play with the same effort and energy that he once had before, he can be the catalyst for a major comeback for the Lakers. Of course, we can't talk about the Lakers' struggle without talking about Russell Westbrook. He has been the most polarizing player in the past few years, but that has reached a whole new level this season. Russ is a wildly inconsistent player, but he has never struggled this badly ever since he became a superstar. He's an incredibly talented player and is one of the most athletic guards in the history of the NBA. However, he's incredibly streaky and it's hard to predict what you'll see from him on a game-to-game basis. On some nights, his energy is what causes his team to win, but on the other hand, his turnovers and bad choices late in the clock also bring in horrible losses. Despite being an incredible player, the thing that holds him back the most is his inability to adjust his style according to what the team needs. He failed to fit with every superstar he has played, and today, that's still the case. Looking back, the year that Russ won the MVP is the year when he was the only star in the team and he didn't need to adjust to anyone. Westbrook is at his peak when he's the focal point of the system. That shouldn't be a problem because of how talented he is. But if he wants to add an NBA title to his resume, he needs to learn how to play in a new role and fit in with his co-stars. As a slasher, Russ needs to take fewer shots from deep or from mid-range. His offense is at its peak when he drives and takes it to the basket, and we know that he's borderline unstoppable when he does that. In the midst of all the criticisms, there's one thing you can't take away from Westbrook, and that's his passion and love for the game. He gives his all when he's on the court. Whenever he loses, it's rarely because there's a lack of effort on his part. With this kind of energy, if he can play smarter, he can truly be a championship-caliber point guard. So can the Lakers make the playoffs this year? It's a tough question, and it depends on a lot of factors, but it will be an uphill battle even if they make it or not. The first thing is to make sure all their core pieces manage to stay healthy. Injuries played a huge part in why they got eliminated in the first round last year, so they have to find a way to keep their roster healthy as much as possible. Then their big three needs to sort things out and adjust to the role necessary for a successful turnaround. The coaching staff have taken steps towards being more firm and tough to their stars, such as benching Russ in the fourth quarter. However, head coach Frank Vogel is still struggling to put out a competent lineup that will close games properly. His small ball experiment with LeBron or Carmelo as center hasn't produced favorable results, and it's time for him to make the necessary adjustments if he wants his team to make the playoffs. The Lakers also need to start thinking about the future of this team beyond this season. During their championship run, they had great role players who fit the system such as Alex Caruso, Kyle Kuzma, and KCP. They had a recipe for success, a superstar duo surrounded by supporting pieces who know their roles, played great defense, and made hustle plays. They scratched this formula in exchange for Russell Westbrook, who's talented but is not a great fit for LeBron and AD. It's been a tough year for the Lakers, and their lack of assets prevented them from making significant changes during the trade deadline. They can still make it to the postseason, but their window is getting smaller and smaller. Given their situation, the playoffs should be the least of their worries. They should start worrying about their future instead of their short-term goals, and if they can make the right moves, they can bounce back to the top once again. Do you guys think the Lakers can bounce back? Let us know in the comments below. Speaking of bouncing back, the Boston Celtics are a prime example of just that. The Celtics are pulling off an incredible feat after struggling all season, just like the Lakers, so what changed for them? Click this video to find out.